And ladies and gentlemen, tonight on the season finale of the UK, we have Crypto Bros losing all of their jimmies, or rustling their jimmies, or that's an old reference. OpenSea got hacked, and it's not good. We'll talk about that. We have tax documents.
It is good. It depends on your perspective.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Tax documents and legal liability. What do they have in common? One orange man will find out. And, well, like I alluded to earlier, we may just be at the season finale of the UK. So, I'm the infamous Orion, and I am a Schmo.
I'm Cairo, and I'm a Schmo.
And this is Death Watch 2022.
I'd like to think the UK is more entering their vampire arc.
Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. I would totally watch like a bad movie of the Queen of England being a vampire, like a Dark Shadows type deal.
You know that Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Oh, yes.
I want that.
Yes.
But, you know.
Yes.
Abe Lincoln has to hunt down the vampire queen.
Dude. I love it. For those of you who aren't in the know, ladies and gentlemen, the Queen of England has tested positive for COVID.
Yep, confirmed by Buckingham Palace. It's pretty dumb how it apparently has happened. Her eldest son, who I don't know which one it is, the Prince of Wales. I think it's Charles. I don't actually know, and I don't particularly care. Tested positive last week, and this is the second time that he's apparently contracted COVID. So, like, I can appreciate people getting COVID once, but I feel like when it happens more than once, it really seems to indicate that something might not have been followed right, especially if you're in a position where you're in contact, not just with the Queen of England, but any elderly person on a regular basis.
Honestly, yeah.
Like, especially if you're someone, like, if you're a literal prince, I feel like you have probably as good of information as anyone else as to what precautions you need to be taking and how to not get COVID and how to not give your 95-year-old mother COVID. Like, it feels common sense.
Unless it's just a hazard assassination attempt.
Yeah. Could be. Coming to the next James Bond movie near you.
Yeah. Dude, I'd watch that. 007 in... I don't know. What would be the name of that?
They've kind of gone away with the punny lines for it.
I know. That's what I'm bothered by.
If they were going to do it, what would it be? Probably something... It'd have to be something like medical pun related.
I was thinking something social distance wise. There's no good way of doing that. But that is totally a James Bond movie in the making.
James Bond in The Space Between Us.
The Space Between Us.
Something dumb like that.
You've won the podcast. That's it, everybody. Wrap up. Show's over. We got a winner. Your trophy will be there.
Speed run. Let's go.
Yo. Oh my god. So, yeah. Truthfully, I don't think anything's going to happen because I don't think the UK will let their queen die that easily. And I'm sure the
other option is that she's just rage quitting because of the whole Russia-Ukraine stuff.
Oh, that could be fun too.
Just like, nope, I did this twice already. Or no, probably just once for her age. I'm not doing it again.
Just steps away.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any updates on Russia-Ukraine?
Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
So let's go into that. There has been quite a few statements that have come out and very little action from either side, which is important because Putin said that Russian troops would be leaving the border. And as far as intelligence shows, that hasn't happened.
Of course.
Or it's the case of troops may have left the border, but they were so swiftly replaced by different and more troops that no one could tell the difference.
Nice.
The other two key pieces on the Russia side of it has been that Putin and Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko, who is currently in power under what is almost certainly a fraudulent election. Talked about that, I think, 2 years ago when that happened, um, where he basically they were getting polling results that were literally impossible in some of these districts. That was very clear indicator that there was like just ballot box stuffing going on. But they've come to an agreement to extend Russian military drills set to end on Sunday that will keep 30,000 Russian troops in Belarus rather than returning back to Russia.
Lovely.
Let me make. I'm pretty sure I know geography-wise where this is, but for those that aren't familiar, Belarus is geographically on the northern border of Ukraine and shares a border with Russia. So it's very much there, and having now 150,000 troops on the border between Ukraine and Russia, as well as 30,000 troops on the border between Belarus and Ukraine, makes it so that effectively all of Ukraine's north and eastern borders are vulnerable to risk of invasion if Russia proceeds with what they have been posturing towards.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as what the intelligence is saying, we've gotten multiple statements this week. First, from a U.S. official presenting to the United Nations. Then the day after, Biden in a statement of his own. And today, in a very similar statement from Boris Johnson, saying that Russia is planning for the biggest war in Europe since 1945. It's basically been a lot of that. The intelligence that is being received by the US and the UK and the world at large seems to be indicating that Russia has no intentions to back down from what they've been pursuing at, and that the kind of because that's the question, is these people are just like, oh, this isn't going to happen, you're just stoking the fire by doing this. And their response has been kind of, well, the options here are say nothing and then it happens anyways and we're right because you just did it anyways, or we say something and we're wrong and we don't have an international conflict, and that's good. Because, would you know, international conflict is bad.
No.
I know, it's shocking, but apparently so.
Okay, real talk here for a second. Why is Europe
Yes.
always the fucking drama queen of, like, continents? Because you don't hear this shit from Asia.
Twofold. One of the big things from an American perspective that I've been trying to come to a better understanding of is the very different definition of race that Europe has. Because in the US, for us, race is literally black and white.
Yeah.
It's visibly very easy to see due to the differences in histories that we've had compared to our European allies. In Europe, race is white and white, and the different races are there. That's one of the key things with World War II and the Holocaust, is that when they were talking about the Jews and the Germans, the Aryan race, they're not talking about a religious group, they're talking about an ethnic racial group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to conceptualize that from a non-European background because of how different our experiences are to them. So for Europe, it's very similar to having the same tensions that the US has between our different groups and races, except with the differences that are had, they also are between different nations, where you have pretty clear distinction between the two groups that are in conflict with one another, and you have these conflicts going back just as long as we have our conflicts within the US.
True.
Except they're different countries, not different states, and because they're different countries, they both have their own militaries, and one of them also happens to have nuclear weapons.
Just one of them, though.
At least.
Yeah. That's such a nightmare. I'm glad we're not Europe.
I will be back in 1 second.
Okay. So, I guess I will just tell everybody a quick story. Money, fame, and power. All this and more was gathered by the Pirate King Gold Roger in his years of piracy.
I am return.
Fuck. I'm just going to tell him a quick story about pirates.
Oh, you go ahead.
Oh.
Kat was in another room, and
What's Rin doing?
she's been climbing a lot,
Yeah.
more than normal, and knocking things down. So I've been trying to keep a better eye on it too, trying to curb those behaviors.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want all of my bathroom stuff on the floor of my bathroom.
But it's still in the bathroom, my dude.
I mean, technically, but it's a mess that I have to clean up in either way.
So what you're saying is your cat's a lot like Putin.
Yes.
Cool.
But instead of moving troops around, it's batting toothbrushes off of countertops.
Sounds like Putin. Okay, weird thing. I tweeted this out the other day. Because obviously I'm paying attention to this Russia-Ukraine stuff. What the fuck is up with American cartoonists for politics drawing Vladimir Putin's soft, shitty Siberian soft body all over their fucking comics? Because I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to know about his soft, shitty Siberian Soviet body.
Yeah, I don't really get it either. I feel like it has to be in some way unintended, where they think they're being clever by showing this representation of Putin that's completely unrealistic. So they think they're being like clever and hyperbolic by like, oh, look at the fat white man all shirtless and buff, when in reality they just end up playing into the like propaganda that Russia already wants them to do. It's weird for sure.
Yeah, like, dude, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
I think they either have like a sexual fetish for his soft, shitty Siberian body.
Yes.
That's like the only way it makes sense to me. Like, dude, okay, if you ever decide you want to be a cartoonist, never go into political cartoons because they've always sucked from the beginning of time. There's
Political
never
cartoons have never been good.
Never. If you think you're even remotely funny, get the fuck away from political cartoons. That is where comedy goes to die.
Oh, let me see if I can find it. There's a bunch that I've been seeing people mocking over, where I don't even know if I can find them. Where the guy who's making them is like completely far right, and it's kind of hilarious. Because he seems to think that like he seems to genuinely think that the bullshit of like wearing a mask is just as bad as having to wear a gold star in the Holocaust.
Nice.
It's like one of those people, and it's just like, come on, you can't be this dumb.
I just want to know, where do these people go to art school? Like, because they're always the ugliest thing ever.
Well, that's the thing with this guy, is that his art isn't complete garbage.
Okay.
But he made this like comeback comic in response to that fact, because people were like, hey, you're a good artist, why are you wasting your talent doing X? And he made this thing back where it's like very weird and kind of rapey in his response. And it's just like, okay, dude, good job. I guess we know now why we just should ignore you, because you're weird and kind of rapey. Good job.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna bother looking for it again. It's not worth my time.
I'm just looking at ugly political cartoons right now. Like, dude, I want to find whoever does these and they beat them with a crowbat until they learn how to draw right.
Yep.
Crowbar. My apologies. No, you know, fuck it. Crowbat coming to a store near you. It's a crowbar and a bat. Double the damage. Perfect for a zombie apocalypse.
Perfect.
What else do we have?
Okay. Canada protests have finally been broken up.
Hey.
So one thing that I did want to particularly mention with this, because it has been a long time since these protests started. It's been over 3 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been one of the main criticisms with regard to this is that, wow, it took them 22 days to finally do something about the trucker protests, but they dealt, and this is criticism that I brought up too, how swiftly and violently they broke up protests, peaceful protests that indigenous populations of Canada were doing against oil pipelines that were being proposed, well, not just being proposed, that were being built over their indigenous lands.
Mm-hmm.
Very swiftly and violently were arrested in mass by the police. Compared to this one, where it's a bunch of white people and nothing happens until this week. More than 170 people have been arrested, 38 vehicles seized, as there's a pretty massive crackdown on it. Key piece about this is that I don't know if it's the chief of police. I believe it is, yes. Interim police chief Steve Bell. The old chief of police was removed, and now an interim police chief has been put in, and within 2 days of him being appointed to this interim position, the police started to do their jobs. So that's not a coincidence. This isn't an inaction of the people currently doing it, and criticism of the past police chief and his inaction is completely justified. But the current people in that position of authority seem to be doing the right thing at this point. Second thing is that there was a claim put forward regarding the police's use of mounted officers as part of this crackdown, where they had, officers on horseback, of course. And one of the claims was that as a result of that, there was some police abuse that happened where some woman was like stomped on or kicked by a horse or something. And as far as I or anyone else has been able to find out, that is unsubstantiated. None of the people who were involved in any of the interactions between the mounted police and the protesters have been reported any sort of injuries related to that at all, and it seems to be some sort of misinformation or disinformation, more likely, coming forward trying to discredit the actions of the officers now that they actually did take action. That's a very common thing that I've seen discussed, and it does not seem to be based on fact.
I was about to say, you mean people who are upset that they're protesting through would just lie?
Mm-hmm, right.
Make themselves look like a villain to further justify their cause, which is ironically the most justification for their cause they've done for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on.
The other part of it, I don't remember if it's, there's been so many stupid protests we've had lately. It's hard to keep track of which idiot was in charge of which one, Either one of the leaders in charge of the trucker protests or one of the people who's already been arrested over the January 6th protests. I believe it's one of the leaders over these stupid trucker protest ones that this particular instance was involved with, was making the same sort of bullshit claim about how, what do you know, now that he's been arrested, prison sucks. Who would have known? And it's always great to see. It's like the leopards eating my faces kind of shit. Like, yeah, you did a crime. You knew that it was a crime, and you were arrested for that crime. Oh no, the consequences of my own actions. How dare they?
No, not retribution. How was I supposed to know this was going to happen?
So it's always been a welcome sight to see how dumb and uninformed these people are, and then getting slapped clean across the face with reality.
Oh, there goes reality. Oh, did we talk about the Super Bowl halftime show?
We haven't.
It was pretty good. I'm not old enough for it to be the target audience.
I enjoyed it a lot. The main criticism I had wasn't with the show itself, but the camera work was really shoddy. Almost all of the camera angles they had were at level with the performers rather than being from the top down.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I could see, it looks like they left all of the lights up in the stadium. So because you're looking straight across the stadium at the performers, you constantly have these illuminated crowds behind them, distracting from the performance itself.
So I'll be very upfront. I listened to it. I did not watch it. So
fair enough. I'm sure it was a better experience because it was very distracting. You know, you go to a concert, you don't want to see the rest of the crowd, you want to see the performers.
Yes. Although I did like peek at it for like 1 second, and apparently it's like the most important second of that whole performance because I watched Eminem take a knee right next to Dre when his set was over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the two most important parts, because apparently that moment they tried to get permission ahead of time and they told them no, but they did it anyways because, and I can't believe this, apparently Dr. Dre put up almost all of the money needed to actually produce the show.
What?
Like $7 million he did it himself.
That's freaking cool. That's like, oh, that's cool. Why would they give him no permission to do whatever the fuck he wants if he's funding the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the other part was, that's basically what they must have came to themselves is like, you know, fuck you. If you're not going to pay us, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do it the way I want to.
Yeah.
He was also specifically told not to include the line, it's like still not good with police or something like that in one of his tracks.
Fuck.
He was told to not have that, and he very pointedly had that.
My respect for Dr. Dre just like escalated amazingly tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, though, Kendrick had the best set. I'm not fighting anybody on this because objectively they're all wrong.
Kendrick's was very good. I think you could have a toss-up between Kendrick and special, as far as I know, not announced guest 50 Cent.
Oh, wait, he was on there?
Yeah, he was in there.
You see, this is why I was just listening.
His was pretty good too, but Kendrick's was very good, to be fair.
Oh, now that you mention it.
I wasn't paying attention to it. I have to go back and rewatch it. But did you see how his set started?
Kendrick's?
Yes.
Vaguely. I saw like a piece of it where he just had like a crowd of people around him. How'd it start?
Yeah.
Oh, cat problems. We should make this podcast about Kairo's cat. The Rin podcast. Coming to a YouTube near you.
Away for a second again.
I know. I pitched to the audience us doing a podcast about your cat.
Yeah, right? She's active enough for it. I don't know. She normally sleeps during this time of the day, which works out great. But she's up now and she wants to play.
Yeah.
So not great. She was in the bathroom and was spinning on an empty roll of toilet paper.
Hell yeah.
So thankfully it didn't have any paper on it, or I'd have a big pile of toilet paper on the floor of my bathroom.
So the question is, why did you have an empty toilet paper roll in your bathroom? I
just forgot to replace it, apparently.
Well,
which, you know, I'm going to call that a blessing from God that I don't have a pile of toilet paper to pick up in my bathroom now.
It's very obvious to tell you're a bachelor, Kyril.
Is it?
Yes. That's a compliment. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Where the fuck were we? Kendrick's set. You were talking about that?
Kendrick's, yes. Did you see the start of it? How they opened it?
No, I did not.
So at the start of it, Kendrick and all of there's a bunch of dancers that were supporting him.
Yes.
Were in cardboard boxes.
Okay.
And they like pop up out of the cardboard boxes one at a time at the start of it. So it's very kind of just like boom, and then there's all the people there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they did that exactly, but I love the idea of Kendrick crouched up in a little cardboard box in the middle of the stadium for like 12 minutes before it gets to his part, just waiting for his cue. I find that hilarious.
You think he had like major back pain when he came out?
I don't know how they did it. Maybe they like crated them all out on like carts or something.
Oh my gosh.
After the show started, or maybe there's like a false floor. I genuinely don't know. But
now I'm getting ideas. Like, do you think he actually like came to the Super Bowl in that crate and like no one knew Kendrick was in there the whole time?
It's some Metal Gear shit.
I love it. I need this. This is great.
Yeah. Very good Super Bowl show, though. I very much enjoyed it.
Yay. As a proud millennial myself, I will say that was totally what my generation needed. That's like my one complaint about it was I felt too young for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff targeted at a very specific demographic that Super Bowl.
Yeah. Late Gen X, early millennial.
Yep. Guess who's got money now?
Not boomers with their social security.
No. They've already gotten all it's liquid cash kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have a large generation of people going from being in their 20s and 30s to being in their 30s, 40s, and 50s when statistically speaking they start to earn a lot more and have disposable income rather than just income.
It's pretty rad. I can't wait to be that old.
Yeah.
I will
just wait, it's going to be Fortnite and TikTok dances that you'll get advertised with.
Oh god.
You won't get any of it anyways because it's Fortnite bullshit.
Dude, that's so bad.
Have you seen Donkey's latest video?
Fortnite Daycare?
Yes.
Did not watch it, but I do agree with the title.
It's great. You need to see it. Possibly one of his best.
Oh no.
It is probably a bit of a caricature of what Fortnite actually is currently, but it is definitely the prevailing public opinion of what Fortnite is currently.
Even besides daycare?
No, the daycare aspect of it.
Okay.
Where it's probably not like just 5 and 10-year-olds, you know?
Yeah.
But that's kind of the because 5 and 10-year-olds don't give a shit about Uncharted crossing over with Fortnite or Mortal Kombat or what was the other one? Master Chief. You know, they don't give a shit about that. So there's clearly people with money who they're targeting these crossovers with. You know, 5-year-olds generally don't have money, or if they do, they don't give a shit about Uncharted.
Yeah.
So there's a skewed perspective of it, but it was very amusing to see that perspective, the truth that is behind it, on full display.
Interesting.
Did you know Fortnite added an Among Us mode? Yeah, it goes like that.
No. So, okay. You know, I like Mafia. I think Mafia is a very fun game. For those of you uninitiated, Mafia is the game that Among Us is based off of.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since Among Us has been Among Us, for lack of a better term, Mafia-styled games are on the rise. And I am just getting a little sick of everything needing to be Among Us all of a sudden.
It's definitely a viral aspect to it, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Dude, at my job, we played frickin' Werewolf as a team-building exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's tons of variations. I can respect the developers for Among Us, though, for as long as they had been working on it, because they'd worked on it for a long time before it blew up.
Yeah.
Keeping with it and making a very successful game.
I will say,
ultimately.
It's nothing less than inspiring. Indie game development is a very inspiring field, ladies and gentlemen. It is like one of the few places of authenticity I think I've seen so far in like the major art world. Because let's face it, indie music just means you have rich parents and you just don't have to go through a major label. So that's fucked. Major music in general, kind of fucked. Movie studios are cashing in on adaptations of comic books all too often. Very rare do you see an indie film get posted into theaters because of that. Fuck, what other independent forms of media are there that's really big?
There's journalism on the rise lately.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good alternative because of fucking sponsored content's getting too crazy on major outlets. If I see another fucking article from fucking CBS or fucking whoever the fuck it is, about some person that went rags to riches minting NFTs when it's fucking impossible to mint an NFT for under $10.
Never mind the part where they have major stakes in the NFT companies that they're promoting and showing off.
No, dude, you're supposed to ignore that. You're supposed to ignore that. Shut up, Cairo. Just fucking shut up. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do? What are you gonna do, bitch?
It's the new version of the we bought a house at whatever year with
Oh,
the help of like hundreds of thousands of dollars of our parents' money.
yes. You're right.
Yeah.
Support independent fucking journalism, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of seeing these fucking ads. So yeah. Indie gaming. Actual, like, Cinderella stories seem to have actually emerged from there.
Yeah. I particularly we are in one of the few times for gaming at least where indie gaming has become so prominent that I've seen a lot of people who are like disillusioned with mainstream gaming and the lack of originality in it.
That's me.
And it's like one of the few times where you can say, okay, play indie games. Because there's so many of them now that that's a legitimate option is to just ignore AAA publishers entirely and look in other spaces.
Yeah. Personally, I'm more of an indie guy nowadays. Like,
Mm-hmm.
besides fucking Nintendo, indie.
Yep.
I'm stuck there. I'm so sick of. Well, I'm not sick, but I'm a little jaded of Rudy Tooty point and shooties.
I can appreciate that.
Thank you. It's only because I played a fuck ton of Halo, and once everything started going more the COD model and
Mhm.
less from arena shooters, that's where I started falling off.
Yep.
Support indie developers. Support indie anything.
Yes.
Um, by the way, we had a great segment for NFTs if you want to talk about OpenSea.
Yeah, we'll get this out of the way. I don't want to say out of the way. We'll talk about this because I think it's hilarious. I think it's amazing. OpenSea is a platform that allows you to readily and easily mint new NFTs to the Ethereum blockchain. Today, they had what is being described as some as a hack, but an event that occurred that ultimately caused approximately $200 million worth of NFTs to be removed from certain individuals' wallets and then transferred to other people.
Yes.
As someone who has watched enough stuff about like historical wise about cryptocurrencies and NFTs in general, it is hilarious seeing how identical this is to past cryptocurrency air quotes hacks and scandals. Because this isn't, of course, the first time this has happened. One of the big things that happened with cryptocurrencies early on was that one of the major Bitcoin exchanges got hacked, or there was a vulnerability that was exploited in their code that caused hackers to take massive swaths of Bitcoin from individuals. And what it ended up in was the very clear message that Bitcoin is not, in fact, decentralized. Because what they did is they basically rolled back the blockchain ledger to before the hack happened and forked, made a new branch of Bitcoin and redistributed everybody's coins back to them as if the hack never happened.
That sounds like a bailout.
It was incredibly shady and showed it should have shown anybody who legitimately believed in the crypto stuff how flawed the systems they had were and how equally corrupt they were to the systems they were trying to replace.
Oh yeah. It's just
A
corruption
similar
of different
thing
flavor. Sorry.
A similar thing here has happened in the NFT space with this OpenSeas thing. So as far as I can tell, there is two possibilities for it. And I'm inclined to believe the latter of these because the first possibility is that there is a legitimate vulnerability that was exploited. So OpenSeas apparently on the 18th pushed an update to their service, which they are calling an upgrade to their smart contract that should have had no user-facing impact to it, but would allow them to delist inactive listings on their website. Because, would you know, for what basically amounts to a marketplace, they made a marketplace that had no way of getting rid of old listings. Like, think about that for a second. Imagine if Amazon had to keep a record of literally everything they have ever sold ever, and had not like hadn't thought of how do we get rid of this, but by design had made it so that they couldn't remove them. That's the kind of like fundamental problem that they're trying to fix with this update. And the obvious kind of thing to this is that something happened with that created a new exploit or new vulnerability that was exploited that led to this massive transfer of these NFTs. The other side of it is that it sounds like it might just as well have been a phishing scam.
Oof.
There's a bunch of listings that have gone out of images that are emails that look almost identical to the message that was sent out informing people of this update that was going to happen, saying that you can now manually migrate to this new whatever standard it is by clicking this button in the email that you just got sent. And presumably it's just a phishing scam. You click the button, it does something malicious, in this case steals all your money.
Mm-hmm.
That seems much more likely to me. But there are people who are claiming that they never did this, that they didn't have this. Phishing scams in this space are incredibly common. You know, it's the grifters getting mad that they got grifted instead because the vast majority of them are so socially illiterate that they don't know what a phishing scam is in the first place.
I'm really like, the thing is, I've never met anybody that's like a hardcore NFT bro in like real life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really wondering if this is just like an isolated group of people who are susceptible to this because they lack social awareness and they don't have social skills.
Yep.
Maybe like
Absolutely
a
is.
private school or homeschooled space.
So I don't think it's that so much as to be able to get into this space in the first place, you need some kind of pre-existing wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So private schools maybe, but almost exclusively these are people who are in their late 20s to probably early 40s, who have jobs, already have degrees, maybe even up to masters and doctorates, and are working in advanced fields that pay well to give them the capital and disposable income that they need in order to make these purchases up front.
Yes.
Without that, you can't get started in the space to get scammed, you know. NFTs inherently are appealing to a type of individual that is going to be more susceptible to these types of scams because of the language around them that builds up the hype. You know, you have very clear indicators that would be like red flags to a normal person of like, yeah, this seems kind of fluff and bullshit. But if you're someone with low social literacy, you're not going to understand that, and you're going to be more susceptible to these types of social marketing and things in the first place, which means you're then also equally susceptible to social hacking, basically, phishing emails, scams with support emails, stuff like that in general. So it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
But these people are also the people who are too caught up smelling their own shit to recognize their own limitations of themselves or the product that they're trying to shill. So, you know, in the same way that they might not be socially literate, they're also a bit blind to their own deficiencies that cause them to become marks in the first place.
That makes sense. And you
Yeah.
know what? I do think the term mark is a great way of putting it, because with like how some of the NFT spaces like advertise themselves, I do feel like there's a certain position marketed towards guys like us who are more adept at knowing this kind of shit and smelling a scam a mile away. Because obviously, I feel those ads are meant to target us and tell us to stay the fuck away, because they want less people like us around the marks.
It's exactly that. It's the same way with the Nigerian Prince email scams. They make it blatantly obvious from the get-go so that it self-identifies people who are just going to waste your time when they email you.
True.
You know, when you get a call and they're asking about your car's extended warranty and you have never bought a new car, let alone a car in the last like at all that would have a warranty, because cars don't really have warranties. You know, if you know that an extended warranty on a car is a thing that doesn't exist, you're removing yourself from their pool when you hang up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly it, for sure. And these work the same way. You have a group of people. I've seen it a lot, talked about a lot with the full-on scam coins. There was one of them that was started up called Madoff Coin. The guy who did the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
They made a fake, like, white paper crypto whatever bullshit thing about, literally called Madoff Coin. They took a bunch of money from a bunch of stupid fucking people and then closed all of their Twitter accounts and email and websites. Who could have seen it coming? Oh yeah, literally everyone except for the people who bought into it and lost a shitload of money on it.
I miss the good old days of the internet.
Yeah. For people like you and me, we have literally been trained for the better part of a decade to know that these are things that exist and can happen, and to not make ourselves susceptible to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's like the Zoomer credibility we have, like just from growing up around the internet, our majority, if not our whole lives.
Yep.
I have nothing else to say about that. It's sucky.
It is, for sure.
Now, excuse me. My Zoomer urges are telling me to go make a TikTok right now. I still haven't gone on TikTok, actually.
Me neither. I just can't be bothered.
Yeah. It just kind of looks exhausting because I'm so sick of, like, the ads. The ads do not sell it to me.
I just don't get...
Yo.
The whole thing seems incredibly scammy to me. That's my main problem with it. Is, like, with something like Twitter and Reddit, it's like, okay, I get what you're doing. I can see how you're making your money. But TikTok just... Given that it comes from China...
Yeah.
It's like I can equally, it's not as open, but you can still see where they're getting their money from, how they're selling their information, what it's being used for, and I don't have an interest in participating in that.
Fair enough, my dude. Remember Vine? Back when it was like a safer TikTok? That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know if you have this problem, but I have a hard time swallowing shorter videos. Because if I, like, ingest, like, a whole bunch of micro content, like, in a row, I'm going to feel freaking exhausted. And that is the main reason I cannot stand TikTok. Especially when a lot of this shit is, like, so fast, you'll miss it and you'll blink. And when they start trying to tell me, like, complex opinions based off their TikToks, and they have no way of, like, further shelling out their, what's the word I'm looking for? Opinion, like give any argument for it. That also kills me a little bit.
I agree.
It's a slow week, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to complain about TikTok.
Absolutely is. It's so slow that we're going to talk about a dude in Australia who cut another dude's leg off.
Tell.
So apparently, a man has been charged with murder, understandably, because he cut a dude's leg off, in Australia. But the weird part about this is that they apparently had some sort of an agreement to do it, where the two of them drove to, this was in a park, the two of them drove to this park together. Then the younger of the two cut the older guy's leg off with a circular saw, assisted the old guy who just had his leg cut off back into his car, presumably so he can drive home?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then he left on foot.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. It's a thing that happened, and it's weird.
These things
They
do,
don't
in
know
fact.
why the older man's leg was removed. Tragic.
Amputation. Diabetes. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Australia has fairly decent healthcare, though, so I'm not sure.
I mean, you have to when you have a dangerous environment like that.
Yeah. So last major story to talk about here.
Oh God.
The continuing saga of Trump's tax returns gets ever stranger. Earlier this week, the company that Trump files his tax return, or who he paid to prepare his tax returns, as far as I understand, that is, Trump supplies them with all relevant documentation and information, and from that they put it into the official forms that it needs to be to then be given to the IRS, announced that they were no longer having Trump as one of their clients. And in response to that, Trump issued, I don't even want to say issued, he published the document that details the relationship that Mazars has with Trump. This is from Mazar to Trump, specifically saying Trump is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statement in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, and for designing, implementing, and maintaining internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statement. This is an agreement he has agreed to that says for his taxes, he basically is responsible for the ultimate legality and content within his tax returns.
That sounds pretty standard. Sorry.
And it probably is. But from what I'm seeing, there was the question of whether or not, how easy would it be to get this statement to confirm that, if it's not something that is being readily supplied by the Trumps, it could be an issue of needing to go through months of litigation and discovery requests and ultimately further prosecution just to get these documents to prove that Trump himself is the person responsible for his actual taxes and the information within them before it goes to the IRS. With him just publishing them out there, it shortcuts a ton of that stuff. And in fact, the New York Attorney General just filed the letter as well as Donald's statement as an exhibit into evidence for that exact reason, because it proves he's the one responsible for it, not the other people that he was paying.
I think no man has pissed off a state as much as Donald J. Trump has pissed off the state of New York.
No doubt at all. It is comedic, the degree that he has hated there with the amount of bullshit that he's done to that city.
I'm just thinking about like the state in general, because like I feel like the whole state government is like somehow unanimously amorphously blobbed together into a being that is meant to hunt down Donald J. Trump in any legal field.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
Just, it's amazing to me because I've never seen a government, well, a local government function that swiftly.
Mm-hmm.
So when's the lawsuit? When's the legal court battle?
Ongoing indefinitely.
Basically. Oh yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Who knows when it'll actually get sorted? It's been going on for over 2 years now, better part of 2 years now, and is not especially closer. One piece of note that happened is that it was confirmed with a judge that both Trump and I believe his two eldest children would have to testify under oath as part of the investigation.
Yes.
So like, it's the kind of thing that seems obvious, but when you realize that they were challenging to say nothing at all, you can see how slow it forces everything to get.
Mm-hmm. So basically, they're gonna, avoid trial or die trying. That's a bad way of putting it. They're gonna slow this down until hopefully they die of natural causes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. I think that's about all I have for like real news.
Yeah.
But this is the official release weekend for the Uncharted movie.
Oh God, no.
So let's do this.
Tom, no.
Let's go into hell.
Tom, no.
God.
Yo.
So, just get this out of the way. I was visiting with some family this weekend because my birthday is Monday.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's
And
right.
my younger cousin asked me if I knew about Uncharted
Oh
and if I
no.
knew that Spider-Man was going to be in it. I
Oh
had to grit
no.
my teeth so hard and just be like, "Yup, I know. Believe me, I know." Oh, it was something.
Poor
But I
Spider-Man.
guess it shows that there's people who know Tom Holland and they're interested in it because of that. Because they see the ads with Tom Holland in it and they want to see what Spider-Man's doing.
Isn't Tom Holland also going like on a break soon from acting?
Oh, I have no idea. He's in the MCU, so I don't believe he's contractually allowed to.
Oh shit.
Once in the MCU, always in the MCU.
Don't tell Robert Downey Jr. that. He's still trying to run.
It is pretty telling that the only way out is to have your character literally die, and even then, you'll probably still get brought in for bullshit flashbacks.
You know, I hear a rumor they're going to do an Iron Man variant in Doctor Strange too.
Yep. Or if you're Black Widow and you just get a whole fucking flashback movie.
Oh shit.
So, they made an Uncharted movie. And it's critically doing poorly. I want to see the audience scores.
What's the
Because
audio?
I don't believe any of these are legitimate.
What the review is?
Yep.
Ah.
From the audience. It has a 90% audience score.
Oh, what?
Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Apparently they set it up for a sequel.
I have so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, where's Willem Dafoe in this movie? I don't know, man. Like, very, very. I'm gonna be very upfront. I've never played an Uncharted game,
Yes.
but from what I understand, they've always been more cinematic experiences.
Very much so.
So the idea of adapting a movie is not a bad idea. The problem with it is, how do you make something that is cinematic as an experience without being redundant to the already cinematic experience?
Yeah. That is kind of the problem with it, though, is that it does make it a bad idea in a way.
Well, yes, if you can't
Because-
innovate or do anything different with it.
Well, because the Uncharted games are so much set up like a movie in the first place, it's much more like trying to adapt one movie in like a TV show into a movie,
Good point.
or vice versa.
Yeah.
And we've seen how many times that regularly fails because you mess up with the pacing and the interactions that make the characters who they are, and it makes it less enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way here, Uncharted is already basically a movie that you play through rather than just watch, although you do just watch large parts of it. And by taking it and changing core elements that people have come to resonate with, you end up losing parts of it that make it Uncharted. And for people who haven't seen Uncharted in the first place, they probably won't care because they just don't know any different.
Yeah.
You know, an action movie's an action movie. But if you know what it was before, you can very clearly see what they changed and whether or not it was for the better. You know, a large part of the dynamic between Drake and Sully is the, like, paternal aspect of it, with Sully being the grizzled old man and Nathan being the, you know, on his way to being the same thing, basically, but not there yet. And having Sully be like 40 just doesn't work. It changes that dynamic between the characters. Even if the dynamic that they have isn't bad in what it is, it's changed it from what was established before.
Okay.
And then I also just hate when they make adaptations, and rather than just making new things, they just cut and paste things from the existing property in different or wrong orders.
I will agree to that. I
You
mean,
want to adapt it? Sure. Think about it and show that you understand it by making something new.
mm-hmm. Adaptation is hard.
It is. Absolutely is.
Yes.
I'll say I'm skimming through the user reviews here, and one of the favorite ones I've seen so far is Unix 1973, 3 stars out of 5. It was not what I expected.
Mm-hmm. Took me a second.
And this is the other problem I have with this, is that user reviews get so skewed because it's probably going to sound bad. The average person doesn't understand how to rate something. They don't understand what 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and 5 out of 5 actually means.
I mean, it
Ryan
depends.
Here, 3 stars out of 5, 3 out of 5, above average. The movie was so stupid. It was overscripted and clique. The actors did a good job, but everything else was stupid. The only redeeming factor was a couple of good lines. That is it.
Okay.
Otherwise, disappointment.
Interesting.
And this isn't like a one-off thing. I'm seeing tons of people who are giving this like 4 and 4.5 out of 5s. But they're like, yeah, it was okay, but the acting was good. It's like, no, don't give it a 4.5 out of 5. That's a 90%. That's why this has a 90% rating, is because people don't understand what the numbers they're putting up means. And then you have that disparity between a critic's review where they give it 4s and 4 out of 10s and 2s out of 4s and it means something, or a 3 out of 5 that actually means something,
Mm-hmm.
and then the audience score gets completely skewed up to the other end of it because they don't.
Yes. I'm gonna be a little honest with you, Kyril.
Yes.
The average person is not that great at critical thinking in this country. And the last thing they want to think critically about is a movie.
Yep.
So
But I agree, but then don't go and post a review of it.
okay, Carol, I'm gonna follow up my statement. The average person in this country doesn't like thinking critically, but they sure as hell love telling everybody what they think.
Yeah, that's fair.
You gonna be okay, buddy?
Yeah.
You want some apple juice?
Knowing that the critics' reviews have basically, like, the people who are being paid to think about it
Mhm.
have almost entirely confirmed my pre-existing biases, I'm fine with it.
That's terrible. I wish I had that soundbite. Like, that's a great soundbite. I might go in and just steal
but,
that.
Like, seriously though, the critics' reviews are what I saw in the trailer. As someone who is very much a fan of the series, who's played through all of the games multiple times and has enjoyed them to a great extent, what I saw in the trailer was not just disappointing, but was almost insulting.
Ouch.
And seeing that what was shown in the trailer is representative of the movie, as you would expect, does help in justifying my decision to just not pay much attention to it. And it's a shame because there's so many of these properties that have similar things planned to come about later. You know, there's talks of the Last of Us show on HBO.
That I'm
Is it
interested
gonna
in.
be worth a shit? Who knows?
Probably not.
Yeah. You know, they do all these video game adaptations all the time, and people want them to be good. And they just so rarely are.
Yeah. Truthfully,
One of the things that I really appreciated with, and now that's canceled, the Cowboy Bebop stuff, is that, yeah, maybe they took it in a direction that people didn't like, but you could clearly tell from what they were doing that they gave a shit and they were thinking about the decisions that they were making. Maybe it's fair to not like the decisions that they made,
Mhm.
but they clearly made the decisions that they did with some sort of thought behind them.
Yeah,
You
like
can't say that
Ed.
about everything.
Ed was the best decision in that show. Did he?
Thank God it's an easily missed piece.
Do you think like we'll ever get like a recut of that episode where they just cut Ed out?
There's just no post-credit scene. Like, honestly, for the only episode to have that, like, why? Why choose to do it in that way? So bad.
And you know what I feel bad for?
What's up?
I'm sorry, everybody. We're going back in our weekly Cowboy Bebop Netflix tangent because we're like the only two guys in the world that like it.
Apparently.
That poor kid will always
Yeah.
have that as their first acting experience.
Well, and if you see like the behind the scenes stuff that they did for that scene, because they did like a behind the scenes feature for the kid who was hired to be the actor for Ed, who's never gonna get to actually show the role. And if you see how they did it, it made plenty of sense why they picked the person that they did, being an attempt to accurately depict the neurodivergent person that Ed is.
Do you think Ed is neurodivergent? Like, I don't.
Absolutely. Like
I don't
not in a
argue
bad
it.
way,
Yeah.
but in like a factual way, I'm pretty sure it has been almost confirmed at this point.
I don't disagree with that analysis of the character because I don't know. To me, I'm very scared to ever label any child as neurally divergent because kids are kids, and that's like the most experimental piece of your psychology right there is your childhood. So
Absolutely.
if a kid wants to be like totally weird, fuck yeah, let's do that. Let's get this out their system. Let's try this.
From my understanding, both the actor that they cast and the writers behind the original Cowboy Bebop are in agreement that the character is to some degree neurodivergent. What degree that is, I am not in a position to say, but that was in the features that I was reading about it, that did not seem to be something that was in question.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Cowboy Bebop. Netflix Bebop.
It goes on to the what is it, the upstate farm of having a fucking comic book made out of it in its wake.
Yeah.
I have them on my bookshelf. I have the Firefly comic books. They're good, but they're not more of the show.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, here's the finishing off these stories, these characters' arcs. I guess, you know, the silver lining for the Cowboy Bebop stuff is that we do know how the story ends ultimately, you know.
True.
So maybe they were going to change some things, but we know how it goes in the end. So they don't need comic books. We know what the fuck happens. Yeah.
Here's a. Oh, did you hear about the Netflix Marvel shows?
No, they're making ones again.
No, they're taking them off Netflix.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't have guessed that, but I'm not surprised by it, you know?
Yeah. My guess is that they're probably going to go on some Disney service because Disney technically owns
Disney
the
Plus.
rights. Yeah.
No.
So I think it's only I don't think they'll go to Disney Plus because that's pretty child friendly. But I can definitely see them moving on to Hulu.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. Disney wants all of their stuff on Disney Plus because that is their platform.
True.
And they have others, like, it's not like the rest of Marvel is non-violent, you know?
True.
So I that would be my expectation. I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't like a decision that's being made as much as they had a term limit on their contract and they just didn't continue it.
That probably makes
That would be
more
my
sense.
bet.
Yeah. That being said, if Daredevil shows up on Disney Plus, you have no fucking excuse not to watch it from now on, Kyril.
That's true. Although The Eternals is on there, and I still haven't seen that.
You just... Dude, why did you remind me? I saw that movie like a couple days ago, and I just remembered that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god, I was gonna ask about that. I have been seeing the trailers for it now that it's like actually getting a wide home release.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, there's a line that they've added into this version of the trailer that was not, to my knowledge, in any of the other ones, where they apparently unironically say Eternals assemble. Does that happen?
Okay. Here's my mini review of Eternals, right?
Okay.
Let me give you the frame of mind about what happened. I went over.
Start rapping.
What's up?
I thought you had like a bit of a flow to that. I thought you were about to like make a rap about the Eternals review. I was like, okay, I'm here for this.
Here's the story all about how, I don't know, I went over to my friend Austin's house.
How we convinced HBO to give us way too much money to resurrect another dead franchise.
Oh God. So I went over to my friend Austin's house. We were hanging out. He was on vacation from work. And the one thing we decided to do, as like all bros do eventually, is we watch a bad movie to rip on it. Now, he had seen Eternals before. I had not. And he told me I would hate Eternals.
Yes.
So, I'm like, fuck it. Let's get down to business, bucko. Let's go fucking watch Eternals. Here is a disclaimer. It was just the two of us hanging out in his room, watching Eternals on Disney Plus. We talked over the whole thing. I cannot tell you a single line of dialogue in this movie except that Doctor Strange was name dropped once and my ears perked.
You know, I will say that there is worse criticisms that you can give.
Well,
Is it a kind of movie that you can poke fun at while you watch it?
so I will say this, right? I did find a new appreciation for Eternals. Because I will say I didn't like it, but I don't think it's a movie without value.
Okay.
Eternals, at times, has very good cinematography. In fact, out of all the MCU movies so far, Eternals has probably some of the best shots.
Okay.
But the best shots a good movie does not make.
Yep, I agree.
Mainly because I kept finding fucking plot holes in this movie. The one thing I hate myself for doing this, but I'm going to say it 'cause it's my biggest complaint. Why does the and I will stand corrected, but this is to my knowledge what I saw because I've seen this before. Why does the Eternal that is mute use American Sign Language to speak in like all the scenes before America was even founded? Is this just Eternal Sign Language that's been around since the dawn of time and America just, appropriated it?
I'd be curious. That's actually a good question.
Yeah. And then
That'd be the kind of thing that I would expect them. I would expect them to have people on staff to be like, "Hey, you want to do a deaf mute character? Cool. It shouldn't be ASL. It should be something else."
I agree entirely with that. So, to my knowledge, I believe this was ASL because obviously it's an American movie by an American audience.
Yeah.
They would more than likely use ASL since that's more common, and it's obviously another point I want to give this movie, right?
Yeah.
The diversity matters. Very good.
Absolutely.
Yes. Speaking as the straight white guy, I may not understand the true value of diversity and being represented on like a movie, but it is something I could appreciate in this movie. Mainly because while we did talk over a majority of this film, I did like the acting in a like I may have not remembered all the lines, but I could believe the performances. If you were to just do like the visual like acting, these were some good actors. And, the fact that this was a more diverse film gave a lot of people who typically wouldn't get like a superhero movie role, a role in front of a large audience. And I think it probably did very good things for these people's careers moving forward because it's just giving them a bigger audience to better showcase their talents.
Could be.
Yeah. However, how do I put this? I don't know the best way of putting this without making it sound terrible. My friend was more obsessed with the big CGI character in the room rather than the actual physical people.
What do you mean?
So there's a
Just the
celestial.
CGI in general. Oh, is there one?
Yeah, one of the main plot points is a celestial. Um,
Okay, yes.
so my friend really likes the CGI on this thing, and I'm gonna be blunt with you. It's pretty cool. It's actually probably host to some of the best shots in the film because of the scale of it.
I think I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah. Um, like they'll just do a whole shot where this thing is taking up the whole frame.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because they show. I'm gonna just take a thumbnail here because it's on the Rotten Tomatoes page.
Yeah.
But there's this particular shot that they've shown a lot in the promo stuff.
that is not the shot I'm thinking of. I'm talking about like it's just the face, and you see like the one mini Eternal. The only thing that's not red on the screen to give like a size difference.
Okay.
That being said, everything else was really great in this movie. I did not care for the story because I kept finding plot holes. Like, I feel like a big Eternal conflict that the Eternals as characters should have is the free will argument.
Yep.
The idea that, we're made to basically serve celestial interest. Where do we as people exist? Also, this is kind of a plot point my friend and I were discussing with the mute character. The one that does American Sign Language. How does she feel about being born with, like, being created mute? Where do you, like, when you have a character with definitive creator, where do you build a relationship between them and that creator? And if, like, these characters don't have free will, because they're not necessarily questioning their role with their creator, especially when some of them are given, like, defects like that, well, differences like that, I won't say it's a defect. Disabilities, yes.
Yeah.
Where do you, as, like, it just feels like there's, like, a missing plot point there that could have been really interesting,
So, as someone who hasn't seen it, from my understanding of the plot, that is one of the arguments that they do bring up as it relates to the character that is, like, stuck as a child.
Yes, that is, like, I do appreciate that.
Yeah. So it sounds like they kind of, like, they poke it, but they don't actually fully explore the concept that they start to look into.
So another word I would use to describe this movie is trying to be mature.
Yep.
So the movie is definitely trying to be artsier, it's trying to be larger, it's trying to be a lot more than a standard Marvel movie, which I appreciate. I really do.
Yep.
The thing with it is that it pulls its punches with trying to be mature. Like, Sprite does have that problem where she's, like, stuck as a child because she was just built that way and she resents it. But, like,
built different.
Yeah, she's just built different, bro. But I would honestly like if every Eternal had something like that, because when you have a large cast like this, it's pretty much an ensemble, and they do a pretty good job about funneling who the important characters are for each scene.
Yeah.
But every character isn't necessarily given a character because of that.
Yeah.
I would have liked it if they, they could have all been facing something similar, just in different ways.
Yeah. And that was one of the concerns that we had, was that when you try to introduce 10 plus characters, stuff's going to get missed. You're going to miss details just because that's a lot of stuff to do in 2 hours and 37 minutes.
There's a character in this film, I'm not going to say who only gets like 2 lines. Because I kept track of how many times.
Eternals?
Yes.
Wow. That's pretty rough.
I was trying to keep track of how many times they spoke in this movie, and I only caught 2 times. There's also a sex scene in it.
Nice.
So I made the
first Marvel sex scene? No, it can't be.
It is.
Is it?
I think that was like a big promo part of this movie, the first Marvel sex scene.
Huh.
Yeah. But obviously it's a family movie, and you can't have frontal nudity.
Of course not.
but you sure can
Still
imply it.
PG-13.
Yeah. And it's
People
definitely
can beat the shit out of each other and murder like hell, but you can't have frontal nudity, no sir.
eek a penis.
At least the ironic part is they could probably get away with a penis before they could get away with exposed breasts.
Oh yeah. So here's another thing about this film. The whole lore of the Eternals is not explained best because I feel like every time they introduce something, it just caused me to make questions and make jokes. Like with the sex scene. So we confirmed Eternals have genitalia and they can fuck. But the question is, which of them was built with the biggest penis? That's what we kept debating on the whole time. And the thing is, they would have to know who has the biggest penis among each other because their creator probably, I'm just going to leave it.
The size of this one, schlong.
Exactly. I also really didn't like the costumes. Costumes sucked.
Did they?
Yeah. There's like a point where it's like a CGI battle, and due to the way these costumes look, they do not incorporate into a full CGI environment that well because the lighting is very strange.
Okay.
So it looks like a PS2 fight.
I did see a clip from it on Twitter where somebody posted, maybe they were doing it ironically, I don't know, but somebody posted a clip, presumably of the movie, questioning why it was, given this clip they were showing, Eternals wasn't nominated for an award for its CGI the CGI work that was done on it.
Okay.
And the clip was awful. It was from like some fight scene and it looked really bad.
It might have been the fight scene I'm thinking of.
It was just like all motion blur.
Yeah, that's the fight scene I'm thinking of.
It's just like maybe the person was being ironic, but either way, it did a good job of showing why it probably didn't deserve an award.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem with this movie is it's a Marvel movie. I think if you were to separate this from Marvel, which here's another big problem I have, it is not integrated enough into the MCU.
I guess I would want. Is this just within this movie itself, not looking at the other properties?
Like the most connection I felt was Doctor Strange being name dropped once.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, because like they do like these flashback sequences throughout the film. Where they're like in ancient Babylonia, like all the ancient societies living their Eternals' lives to give a scope of how old these characters are.
Yep.
One thing I kind of wish they would have done, right, is they would have not stuck with ancient history as much and maybe put them in other places in the world that we know are Marvel related. My biggest want from this film, when the idea came to me, and I'm very upset this is not in the actual movie, I wanted to see ancient Wakanda. Like,
that'd been cool.
Yeah, ancient vibranium weapons. Like, in Black Panther when Killmonger has like that like scene where he like looks at the ancient Wakandan stuff. How cool it would have been to see that in the theater, like, in this movie. I would have bumped it up immediately a couple points in my head.
The big obvious one is they talk about the Thanos, of course.
Yes.
But it seems like it would be easy enough to have one of the characters just live normally in New York and show them during the attack on New York and their inability to interact with it,
Yes.
Or not being allowed to interact with it.
Yes. They also do this really annoying thing where they pretty much will put up a piece of technology and they'll be like, Eternals did it. We're important. Trying to make us like seem like a bigger part of the world than we actually are. Yeah. At the point, there was like a point where I made an offhanded joke to my friend that I'm half expecting them to be the ones that invented the Iron Man suit. Because they were just taking credit for everything. At this point, I believe the Eternals did nothing, and they're just trying to take credit, so that like they can have like a dick measuring contest with each other. I'm trying to think of like other important things about this movie that were weird to me. There's this one scene with Hiroshima where they imply one of the Eternals worked on the Hiroshima project, the Manhattan Project. And yeah, and he's very upset that his project was used to kill so many people. And it's like,
I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Yeah,
that wasn't really a secret.
I know. It was just like a dumb plot point to me, because it's like, okay, you're going to pick Hiroshima of all things to, you know, be the big monstrosity, because I guarantee you there's another monstrosity going on like half a continent that way that you should also probably be upset about. Mm-hmm. You know, Hiroshima is pretty isolated compared to that. Granted, nukes are terrible,
of course,
but have you seen what human indifference can do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a choice that was made for sure.
Yeah. So I made a joke that the Eternals are perfectly fine with anti-Semitism, but when it comes to racism, that's where they have problems. Yeah. I guess I'll go back to the things I do like about this movie. Cinematography is good. The actors definitely did their darnest bringing these characters to life. Some were just given more meat to chew on than others.
Large parts of the cast are already established. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of lesser known actors in it, but like, what, 6 of the 10 I at least already know from other pieces of media that they have proven themselves to be talented in.
So I have this bad habit of wanting to rewrite movies I think there are potential in. And Eternals is definitely one of those movies I want to rewrite. Because there's just so much you could do with the Marvel Universe if you're doing like a movie like where there's this grand scale of time. Mm-hmm. Like, another idea I pitched was the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Yep. They could have easily gone to like the Kumarata and met them in that. That would have been such a cool cameo just to give an idea of like how ancient some of these people are. Mm-hmm. Because when you just give me like locations that feel vaguely reminiscent of an ancient age without letting me get context of where they become in this universe later on, it just feels like just moving scenes instead of like feeling the weight of time. And my biggest throwaway with Eternals is just that it's a lot of missed potential. And I do think there's something actually really cool in this movie. Problem is, it's not what we got. And I'll just kind of leave it there for my summary thoughts. I give it like a good 5 out of 10. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get canceled on Twitter.
Recall.
Yo.
Did we talk about the new Doctor Strange trailer?
We did not.
I didn't think so. It came out after. But it has been getting some memes.
I'm so excited for this movie.
It's a way better trailer. It's so much better than the other one.
It's amazing what happens when they actually get an editing crew to do the trailer.
Yeah. I really hope... So one of the bits in the trailer is Wanda talking with Strange. And it's being memed lately. But I really hope that we get that as like an actual dynamic in the movie of Wanda being like, well, why am I being punished for doing the thing when you did the thing and you weren't? Because that's like genuinely interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be context of it too. I had a friend I was talking to, and he showed me some like an analysis of the trailer that I really like. Where is it? So basically, if you like take that scene where Wanda's in the Scarlet Witch get up talking to Strange and pair it up to the scene in the orchard, They're like almost neck and neck, the same exact like framing.
Okay.
So a lot of people get the idea that she's like casting an illusion on that orchard and hiding what's really going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited.
Let me pull up the other trailer here. I'm just noticing we're gonna turn into 20 things you didn't notice on the Doctor Strange trailer channel here in a sec.
Did you recognize that voice that was talking to Strange in that one part? Well, that voice is heavily implied to be Sir Patrick Stewart.
So here's a fun thing that I just picked up on rewatching it. In this scene in the newer trailer,
The good trailer?
these trees look awful similar to certain trees in another trailer.
Oh, snap. What trailer?
They look like the trees in the orchard.
Oh, yeah.
They're the same like white, like cherry type tree.
You're right. You're white.
Yes, I am. We'll see how it is. I'm not quite sold on it yet because that first trailer was like, it was shaky.
It didn't give much.
Yeah. This definitely does, though.
Did you notice this is like the first Marvel movie trailer where they advertise the director as a selling point?
It's Sam Raimi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it makes sense why they would.
I'm excited just because it is a Sam Raimi movie and he's pretty creative with his visuals.
Yeah.
What I'm not happy about is that this movie got delayed 2 months, but eventually I'll get this movie that I've been waiting for since it was announced like back in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Do we know there's a character and I'm trying to find a frame of who this is? I'm saying this. Because I have some suspicions, but I'm curious if it's like actually known.
Yeah, that's American Chavez.
Yes, thank you. The character.
Yeah.
I don't know by that name, so.
Yeah. She's new.
Who are they?
Oh, now that I'm the guy who's read comic books for the majority of his life, everybody comes to me for answers, and I have to tell them now we're in the Marvel shit I haven't read, so,
Okay.
I know who she is. I do not know much about her.
So to me, only knowing like current stuff,
Yeah.
it looks very similar to how they did the shit. I have to think about it now because I don't remember in the Avengers video game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Kamala Khan?
Yes, the actor looks quite similar, like strikingly similar to how they had Kamala Khan shown in that video game, like straight down to the jean jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Was like, are they trying to draw a parallel there? Is that who this is supposed to be?
Let's see what I can find about America Chavez. American Chavez believed she was raised by her mothers in the Utopia parallel, a reality that is out of time and in presence of being known as the Dumarage, whose presence she credited with imbuing her with her superpowers. In her memory, when Chavez was approximately 6 years old, the Utopia parallel was threatened by destruction. Chavez's mothers sacrificed themselves to seal the black hole, resulting in her particles being smeared against the multiverse itself. Wanting to prove herself as a hero and knowing that Utopia didn't require salvation, Chavez ran away from her home and responsibilities. She traveled across different realities, eventually adopting the moniker of Miss America, and began covertly acting as a superhero.
Neat.
Her superpowers include superhuman strength, speed, longevity, and durability, with flight, invulnerability, star portal creation, star blast, interdimensional travel, and time travel. So she seems like a physics professor's worst nightmare. Oh, fun fact, she was originally set to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, but was right now because they eventually felt that this would be too much pressure on that movie.
You don't say.
Yeah. As if there wasn't enough going on in that movie. But I can kind of get it.
Enough characters.
Yeah. It makes sense why she would appear in that movie now that I think about it.
Oh, for sure. Totally makes sense. But I think the decision to move it to this one makes more sense.
Yeah, it's literally called the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions for the Marvel guy who, now we're getting to the stuff. Okay, to give you an idea of my scope of knowledge on the Marvel Universe, I wasn't even that, I knew of the Eternals, never, ever knew much about them. I could not tell you a single one of their names. So
you're telling me you're a fraud?
I am a fraud. I'm a frickin' normie, good sir. It doesn't matter that I knew about Asgard way before most people even saw Iron Man 1. It doesn't matter that, I was there when Ultimate Peter Parker was killed and then replaced with Miles Morales. It doesn't matter that I was there when our God King Emperor Null came to invade the Earth with an army of symbiotes and Celestials, and we watched Eddie Brock fly him away. It does not matter that when the Fantastic Four shit starts hitting the fan, I'll be back. Because I've actually read Fantastic Four books, unlike most of you nerds. It does not matter that I know what a Fing Fang Foom is. Because I'm just a fake at the end of the day. Seriously, where the fuck is Fing Fang Foom? I've been waiting.
I will take your word for that.
Do you want to see what a Fing Fang Foom is?
I don't know if I do.
You want to see what a Fing Fang Foom is.
Okay, let's see what a Fing Fang Foom is.
I just love saying his name.
It's a good name.
Isn't it?
It has solid alliteration.
I know. He's so ugly, I love him. I want a plushie of him. He's just a dragon man.
It's just a dragon dude.
Just a space dragon man. There was rumors he was going to be in Shang-Chi, but I didn't think that made sense. I just want to hug him. Do we have anything else we would like to talk about today?
Think so?
Cool. Then in that case, I'm Miss Orion, and I am awaiting Fing Fang Foom.
I'm Cairo, and I'm also a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmoes Show.